My wife made me become a housewife while she was cheating on me and mocking me in her lover-esque messages. Jack and Emily got married at 25, and now they're both 38. They met in college, tied the knot, and life has been mostly great since then. They both graduated, landed decent jobs, and built a life together. Emily worked for her dad's small business while Jack joined a big company. Then, unexpectedly, Jack's boss left, and he was the only one who knew how to keep the department running. This earned him a substantial raise, better bonuses, and improved benefits. By the time he was 28, Jack was making roughly 3 times what Emily earned. That same year, they welcomed their first daughter, Sophie, and 2 years later, their second, Lily. Because she worked for her dad, Emily had more flexibility with her job. About 5 years ago, Emily's father passed away unexpectedly, leaving her mother and Emily in a difficult spot. They had to decide whether to sell the business or run it themselves. Since Emily's mother had no clue about managing the company, Emily stepped up. To Jack's surprise, the business flourished under Emily's leadership, just as it had when her father was in charge. Consequently, Emily got a massive raise, earning even more than Jack did. Jack was proud of her transforming from an ordinary worker to running a whole company as no small feat. However, their daughters began to feel the impact of their absence. That's when Emily and Jack discussed one of them staying home. Emily suggested Jack quit his job since her company couldn't afford to lose her. Jack agreed and thus became a stay-at-home dad and husband. Now he handles everything at home, taking care of the girls, cooking, cleaning, fixing things, running errands, you name it. When Emily returns from work, Jack makes sure to pamper her and cater to her needs. Everything was going smoothly until about a year ago when Emily's attitude started to shift. She began making hurtful comments like, "Do you even do anything?" or "Why don't you get a real job?" It stung. Jack works his butt off every day to ensure she comes home to a stress-free environment. He did have a real job, but he gave it up to take care of their girls, their home, and her. Emily used to crave closeness, but lately she stopped initiating it, and whenever Jack asked, she was never in the mood. It was odd and confusing. Jack figured she must be really stressed with all the pandemic stuff and other things going on, so he tried to be understanding and make her happy. But no matter what he did, nothing seemed to work. Last weekend, they went to Sophie's softball game. Jack wanted to record a video for his parents who live in another state and don't get to see their granddaughters often. He forgot his phone, so he asked Emily if he could use hers. She'd been on her phone all day, so Jack thought it would be a good chance for her to take a break from it. She handed him her phone and went to get a drink and a snack. While recording Sophie, a message popped up on some app, and Jack decided to check it out. What he saw was unbelievable. There was this guy at Emily's workplace named Mike, who's 8 years younger than Jack, and they had been texting, sending explicit videos and pictures back and forth. They were talking about how close they were and discussing Jack in not-sonish terms. Mike called Jack a wimp who can't take care of his woman, and Emily was agreeing with him. Jack was shocked and devastated. When he heard Emily coming back, he quickly closed the app and resumed recording the video. On the way home, and even when they got back, Emily tried to talk to Jack, but honestly, he wasn't in the mood to chat. Eventually, they lay in bed, and for the first time in a while, she tried to initiate intimacy. Jack told her he wasn't in the mood, and she snapped, "If you're going to be all moody about everything, fine, go sleep on the couch." So he got up and has been sleeping in the guest bedroom ever since. Jack is so lost right now, he doesn't even know how to handle this situation. Emily meant everything to him, and his daughters are his whole world. Update. First of all, Jack has all the texts, pics, and videos as evidence. Second, he doesn't own any of the company. It's split 50-50 between Emily and her mother. Third, Jack can't bear to sleep in the same bed anymore, so he's been crashing in the guest bedroom every night, and that's where he's going to stay. As for his decision, Jack has chosen to divorce Emily. This morning, he called a law firm in another town to keep things discreet. Luckily, they had a last-minute opening, so he rushed over after dropping off his girls. Long story short, the lawyer Jack met was really good. He showed the lawyer all the evidence he had, and the lawyer said it's pretty much going to screw Emily over in the divorce. Since Jack left his job to raise their girls, and Emily is hardly ever home, having an affair and prioritizing this other guy over them, she's going to lose big time. The lawyer said they'll get child support, alimony, Jack will keep the house, and Emily will have to pay for it as long as the girls live there. He mentioned that they might be able to get more money since Jack is considered not viable in the working world anymore. This extra money could help him pay for more education to find a job. Some of you were right, the lawyer advised Jack not to work until after the divorce is settled. Apparently having a job could lead to losing a lot in the settlement. Then he asked if Jack wanted full custody of the kids. Jack told him he doesn't mind Emily spending time with them on weekends occasionally, but he'd prefer to have mostly full custody. The lawyer said that since Emily had an affair in their home, Jack has a strong case for full custody. Bringing a stranger over to the house put their girls in danger and makes Emily look guilty. So Jack is going for full custody, allowing her to have weekends once, maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around the girls, and if there is, Emily could face issues from Jack if he finds out. Jack just doesn't want that piece of crap around his daughters. The lawyer suggested keeping quiet until the documents are ready, and then he'll arrange for someone to serve Emily with the divorce papers along with an order to leave the house. He expects to have everything done sometime next week. The lawyer told Jack to stay quiet for now, even though it's tough and Jack is angry. He said to shut up until the divorce is finalized. After that, the lawyer said Jack can talk all he wants about Emily, but until then he needs to keep quiet. The lawyer wants Jack to act like everything is normal, no arguments, no problems, sleep in separate beds, and avoid any intimacy. Jack agreed but asked why. The lawyer told him to trust him, follow his instructions, and not ask questions. Jack just got home and is preparing for dinner, trying to act normal. He'll keep up the charade until Emily is served next week. Quick note, the lawyer advised Jack to get an STD test and a DNA test for the girls. When Jack asked why, the lawyer said these situations are rare and might not be the first time this has happened. That hit Jack hard and scared him to his core. Update: Jack has been feeling really down lately and everything's been rough. To clarify, he discussed these posts with his lawyer. Jack didn't go into too much detail, but the lawyer said it's okay to share as long as he keeps it brief and not too specific. So for this update, Jack will keep it short and legally safe. Let's start with the test results. Jack got an STD test for himself, and thankfully he came out clear, no diseases, which isn't surprising since he hasn't been close to Emily in the past year. Now on to the big one, the paternity test for his 2 girls. No matter the results, Jack will always be their dad, but he's overjoyed to say he is their biological father. Jack has never been happier to know for sure, even though he never imagined he'd have to question it. As for what's happened with his soon-to-be ex, Emily is out of the house, and Jack has been granted full temporary custody of the girls. He'll share more details in the future, but for now, Emily is no longer living there. Jack's lawyer took care of the legal process to have her removed, and it was a messy situation, but Jack will save those details for later. Emily was served with divorce papers at her workplace, and it seems like it didn't go well, but again, more on that later. The girls are aware of what's happening. Sophie knows they're separating, and one of her friend's parents went through the same thing. She's seen what happened with her friend's family and doesn't want them to split up. She's been crying and asking Jack to let mommy come home. It's really tough for her. Jack is going to arrange for them to see a child therapist to help them understand everything as his lawyer advised. Lily just wants her mommy back and misses her a lot. It breaks Jack's heart, and he feels like a terrible father right now. He worries they might hate him because of this. Sometimes Jack wonders if he should let Emily cheat on him just to keep the family together and make his girls happy, but he can't bring himself to do that. Another thought crosses his mind, considering an open relationship and waiting until the girls are older, but he can't accept that. Besides, he knows the girls would sense it and dislike the idea that mommy and daddy don't love each other. As for Emily, she's currently living with her mother. Emily's mother reached out to meet with Jack, and he agreed to see her. She didn't ask for details, but she begged Jack not to take her granddaughters away. Jack reassured her that she's a wonderful grandmother, and as long as she can separate her daughter's issues from her relationship with the girls, she can still be in their lives. She thanked Jack, and that was that. Emily has been trying to call and text Jack, wanting to talk about them. Under Jack's lawyer's guidance, they've set up a trackable method for communication, strictly limited to discussing the girls, nothing more. So that's where things stand for now. Update. Hey everyone, Jack wanted to give you a quick update on what's been going on. First of all, he spent Thanksgiving with his soon-to-be ex and mother-in-law. He did it solely for the sake of the girls and made sure his lawyer understood it was about them, not about getting back together. They sorted that out before Thanksgiving. Jack had a meeting with his mother-in-law, and they had a pretty open discussion, mainly about how they'll handle things with the girls after the divorce. During their talk, his mother-in-law shared some information about his STBX. It turns out she was cheated on by her high school boyfriend. Jack had no idea she even dated someone back then. This guy, his mother-in-law mentioned, came from a well-off family, and they warned her to stay away from him. One night, Jack's STBX caught him with another girl, which shocked his mother-in-law. Jack's STBX had a couple of boyfriends during college, but his mother-in-law knew those relationships wouldn't last. She told Jack that as soon as she met him, she felt like she found her perfect son-in-law. She's really sorry for her daughter's behavior and promises to make sure she doesn't cause trouble during the divorce. A few days before Thanksgiving, Jack's mother-in-law asked him to come over for dinner with the girls. Jack asked if his soon-to-be ex would be there, and she said yes. Jack told her he couldn't do it if she was going to be there, but his mother-in-law understood and asked if they could put on a holiday act one more time for the sake of the girls. She suggested Jack consult his lawyer to see if spending Thanksgiving together was a bad idea, so he did. The lawyer advised Jack to inform his wife through their communication app that this dinner was solely for the girls to prevent any misunderstandings. Jack followed his advice. Jack's soon-to-be ex had been constantly reaching out, begging to see both him and the girls themselves were pleading to see their mom. For their sake, Jack decided to put his pride aside and agreed to go over for dinner. When they arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Jack's soon-to-be ex embraced the girls, which was fine, but then she tried to hug and kiss Jack. He dodged her attempt and instead greeted his mother-in-law. Jack's soon-to-be ex behaved as if they were still a loving couple, trying to engage him in conversation. Jack kept his responses brief and focused on helping his mother-in-law with dinner preparations and cleanup. Jack's devout mother-in-law wanted to say a prayer before dinner, and his soon-to-be ex sat next to him. Jack held his daughter's hand, but when his wife tried to hold his, he pulled away. It might seem petty, but Jack couldn't stand her touch. Although he's an atheist, Jack participated in the prayer out of respect for his mother-in-law. Dinner went smoothly, except Jack's soon-to-be ex kept pretending they were still together, asking about Christmas plans and family vacations. That's when Jack realized agreeing to this dinner was a mistake. After dinner, Jack washed the dishes, eager to leave, but the girls wanted to watch a movie with their mom, a family tradition. Jack reluctantly agreed, but when his soon-to-be ex tried to cuddle next to him on the couch, he moved to a chair. Throughout the evening, Jack's mother-in-law was visibly upset with her daughter's behavior, evident in the glare she directed at her. When the movie ended, they prepared to leave. The girls had fallen asleep, so Jack carried them to the car. As Jack went back inside to grab something, his soon-to-be ex cornered him, tearfully begging to work things out and be a family again. Before Jack could respond, his mother-in-law intervened, yanking her away by the hair no less, and sternly saying goodnight to him. So Jack talked to his lawyer and explained everything. Jack emphasized that there's no possibility of reconciliation, which was clear in his messages. The lawyer assured Jack that's fine. Now his wife keeps calling and begging to work things out, but Jack is leaving her messages unread. He'll only discuss matters related to the girls, and he's pretty sure they'll want to do something for Christmas. Jack will check with his lawyer about that. Update. Things have been really tough for Jack's girls. They had 2 therapy sessions this week. The first one went well. They seemed more at peace afterward. The therapist seems to understand them well. However, the second session was a disaster. The therapist explained in an age-appropriate way that their mom had an affair and betrayed Jack. Jack knew this day would come, but not this soon. When he picked up the girls, they burst into tears and clung to him, saying they love him. It's heartwarming. But this wasn't how Jack wanted them to find out about the separation. Jack asked the therapist why she told them, and she explained that the girls were aware of the separation and noticed Jack's coldness towards their mother. She said kids aren't dumb, they can sense their parents' behavior. They wanted to know why they were separating, and the therapist believed honesty was crucial for their progress. Jack won't go into all the details of what she said, but it was appropriate for their age. They now know their mother was unfaithful in a way they can comprehend. Sophie might handle it better, but Lily is struggling. When they got home, the girls wouldn't let go of Jack, crying the whole night. Jack ordered food, put on their favorite movies, and they stayed in his bedroom. They eventually fell asleep, and Jack went to the bathroom and broke down. Jack's soon-to-be ex doesn't even realize the pain she's caused the girls. Jack is at a loss. The therapist suggested medication to help them adjust, but Jack refused. He doesn't want to drug them. The therapist understood and said it was just an option, but they'd need to consult their primary doctor for that. Jack would rather help his daughters cope with their emotions healthily. As for Christmas, Jack won't have to worry because the girls now detest their mother. Jack was taken aback when Sophie said she never wants to see her mom again. Even Lily, who usually follows her sister's lead, seems to agree. Jack tried to tell them that despite their anger, they shouldn't hate her because she loves and cares about them. Sophie insisted she doesn't, and they both cried in Jack's arms until they fell asleep. Update. It might sound like a bad movie sequel, but the girls are doing better. They're still seeing the same therapist and are gradually coming to terms with everything. They no longer hate their mother but have told Jack they don't want to see her for a long time. Those are their words, not Jack's. They'll see how that unfolds. Jack informed his wife that the girls know about her affair, and she tried calling them. They answered, but have maintained their boundaries. Jack thinks she's finally realizing the gravity of her actions. Regarding the other guy involved, Jack already knew he was a jerk, but he's worse than he thought. Someone asked if there was another person in the affair, so Jack looked through some of Emily's work documents and found a list of employees' contact numbers. Jack called his number, which turned out to be his wife's. It turns out he's married with a toddler, which Jack didn't know. When Jack told his wife about the affair, she didn't believe him and hung up, but later she called back and wanted to meet. They met, and Jack showed her all the evidence. She asked if they could talk in Jack's car, and as soon as they got in, she broke down crying and asked how he could do this to her. Jack reassured her she did nothing wrong and gave her his lawyer's contact information. She then asked how long the affair had been going on, and Jack told her it had been about a year, maybe a bit longer. That's when her sadness turned into sheer rage. Curious, Jack asked why she was so furious. She revealed the truth behind her wig. She had battled cancer after their child was born. While she was in the hospital, they discovered a tumor. Over the past year and a half, she had undergone 2 surgeries, chemotherapy, and was on medication. Despite all that, she looked great, which surprised Jack. She said she had beaten the disease and was doing better, but she and her husband hadn't been intimate for about 2 years. During her pregnancy and cancer treatment, intimacy was impossible. She got very sick while pregnant, and the disease took a significant toll on her. As she started to feel better, she struggled with her self-image due to weight gain from the meds, hair loss, and not feeling as attractive as before. She wanted to surprise her husband with intimacy now that she felt ready, but discovering his affair shattered that plan. She cried about her child growing up in a broken home, and Jack tried to comfort her. She then tried to get close to Jack, but he gently declined, explaining that she wasn't in the right state of mind and it wouldn't be healthy for either of them. She thanked Jack for his honesty. Later, she asked for the evidence, and Jack gave it to her before she went home. They've texted a few times since, as they're both going through this difficult time, and they'll stay in touch. Thanks to those who suggested reaching out to the other betrayed spouse, Jack hadn't considered it. Update. Hey everyone! Jack wanted to share how Christmas went with the other betrayed spouse. All things considered, it turned out to be a surprisingly nice and wonderful day. Jack set up a bunch of presents from Santa for the girls, since this might be the last year Sophie believes in Santa, and Jack wanted to make it special. He laid out the gifts early in the morning while it was still dark. Within 15 minutes of waking up, the girls were excitedly declaring that Santa had come. Jack dragged himself out of bed, and they eagerly tore into their presents. Their joy was contagious. Afterward, they snuggled up on the couch and watched a movie, and they fell asleep next to Jack. Eventually, Jack got up to make some coffee. Lily woke up and said she was hungry, so Jack let her help him make breakfast while she wore an apron. Sophie soon joined them, and they all enjoyed a good meal together. They spent the morning playing with their new toys and having a blast, which warmed Jack's heart. In the evening, Jack helped them get ready to go see their mother and grandmother. Normally, Jack is more strict about getting ready, but with everything that's been happening, he's been more lenient. They were ready, but expressed that they really didn't want to go see their mom. Jack reassured them that their mom loves them, and his therapist had advised him to encourage their relationship for their healthy development. Otherwise, Emily could claim in court that Jack is isolating them. The therapist said the girls can decide on their relationship with their mother as they get older. Emily knows about the therapist, and they've spoken. The therapist made it clear that Emily had betrayed Jack, and it's evident that Jack is the girl's favorite. She'll have to work hard to regain their trust and love. Jack told the girls not to punish Grandma for their mother's actions and to go see her. They agreed. Jack took them to their grandmother's place, and everything went smoothly. Jack called his Emile when they arrived, and she came out to get the girls' things. They were staying the night for Christmas, and Jack's mill asked if it was okay. Jack checked with his lawyer, who said it was fine for one night, just not for extended periods or too often. Before leaving, Jack assured the girls they could call him any time if they wanted to come back home, and he'd be there for them. As Jack was leaving, his soon-to-be ex came out. She seemed confused by something Jack's mill had said, and Jack's mill sternly told her no. Jack's STBX looked at him with teary eyes and waved as he drove off. Jack had left food in the oven on warm for the other betrayed spouse, who eventually showed up. She arrived without her toddler. When Jack asked where they were, she explained that her in-laws wanted to spend Christmas with them, and the toddler's father also wanted to see them. She had worked out a similar arrangement with her lawyers, so it was fine. She was dressed nicely in a pretty dress, leggings, fluffy boots, and a stylish wig. They had dinner together and shared stories about their pasts, getting to know each other better. After dinner, they settled on the couch to watch a movie and continued chatting. Eventually, Jack decided to open a bottle of wine. He doesn't drink much, but he enjoys a particular wine on Christmas. He asked if she could have some, and after ensuring she was comfortable with it, Jack poured her a glass. Their conversation transitioned from their past to their interests and finally to their current struggles, which led to some tears. As they drank more, they started joking and laughing. Surprisingly, after 2 bottles, their conversation became more candid. They talked about their intimate preferences, what they missed, and what they desired. It turned out they were quite similar in those aspects. She mentioned that Emily was lucky, but had messed up, and Jack responded that her husband was no different. Some of you suggested Jack should compliment her looks, especially after her previous attempt to get his attention, but he thought it was inappropriate. However, Jack did tell her she could take off the wig if she felt more comfortable without it, reassuring her that she looked amazing. Jack even complimented her on how beautiful she looked with a pixie cut. She took off the wig, thanked Jack, and teared up a bit. They continued their intimate conversation and eventually ended up cuddling while watching the movie. Okay, just a heads up. They were both pretty drunk. Back when Emily and Jack used to cuddle, Emily liked it when Jack gently rubbed her chest, not grabbing or pinching, just a soft massage. Jack did it out of habit, and when she said it felt good, he got startled and immediately stopped, apologizing for not realizing what he was doing. She told Jack it was fine and even asked if he could keep going since it helped her unwind. Jack asked her again to be sure, and she confirmed with a yes, so Jack continued. Jack has to admit it started to turn him on, and she picked up on that. She began to touch Jack as well, which made him apologize awkwardly. She asked if Jack wanted her to stop, but he told her only if she wanted to. She chose to keep going. This led to them kissing and getting more intimate. Before long, she was unzipping Jack's pants and giving him oral. After that, they had some pretty intense sessions all over the house, the living room, kitchen, and office. Eventually, they found their way to Jack's bed, where things became more passionate and slow, with lots of kissing. After they finished, they lay together, shedding a few tears before falling asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, they had breakfast together and showered. Jack asked if she had planned all this, and she laughed, saying a girl always comes prepared. Before leaving, she asked if Jack felt anything special last night. Jack told her the truth, saying yes. They agreed they needed to be cautious and make sure their feelings were genuine and not just a reaction to the situation. She said they'd explore them later. As she left, she kissed Jack on the cheek and thanked him for a wonderful night, promising to text him later. Jack picked up the girls, who said they had a good time with their mom and mentioned she was well behaved for the most part. Right now, Jack has just finished preparing dinner and they'll spend the evening together. Update: Jack knows it's been a while since his last update. Things have been incredibly busy, so hell, keep this brief. The girls are doing much better now, thanks to therapy and staying active. They still have their tough moments, but overall they're improving. As for Jack and the other betrayed spouse, they still talk almost daily, but they haven't been physical since that night. They did meet once more and both agreed that while they don't regret it, it shouldn't have happened. Now, regarding Jack's soon-to-be ex, for a few weeks after Christmas, she kept trying hard to get him to talk, but that has mostly stopped. Emily has hired a lawyer, Jack's lawyer is aware, and their meetings will start soon. Emily has finally accepted that Jack is done, and there's no changing his mind. Jack is sure they'll push for reconciliation, but that's not happening. Emily still calls and texts, trying to make Jack reconsider, but he just leaves her messages unread. Regarding the other spouse's ex, he's been arrested. Jack won't go into too much detail now, but the guy confronted Emily at her workplace, and they got into a heated argument. Emily threatened to call the cops, and the guy physically attacked her. Others at her workplace intervened and held him until the police arrived and arrested him. Emily is pressing charges. Jack isn't sure if the guy will involve a lawyer for their affair, but he hasn't heard anything yet. Jack's mill told him about it and said Jack could visit Emily if he wanted to. Apparently, the guy gave Emily a black eye and busted her lip, but Jack's mill thinks it's karma. Jack hasn't seen Emily since the incident, nor have the girls. Unless something crazy happens, you probably won't hear from Jack until after their first meeting with the lawyers. Update. Hey everyone, just a quick update on everything. A lot has been happening, and life can get pretty hectic, but Jack will summarize as best he can. Let's start with the girls. They were making good progress and seemed better, but as the divorce date nears and they realize they're really going their separate ways, they've started to struggle. Their therapist says they've accepted the situation but had hoped they'd somehow work things out. The reality of the divorce is hitting them hard. Lily is coping okay, but Jack is really worried about Sophie. She's been feeling really down and it's concerning. Jack is following the therapist's advice and doing everything he can, but the therapist suggests medication, and Jack is hesitant. It might get to a point where medication is the only option for her. Sophie is usually healthy, but Jack has noticed some of her clothes don't fit well, and he thinks she's eating less. Her doctor and Jack have talked about adding nutrients to her food to help her gain weight. Jack hopes they can figure this out soon because it's starting to worry him a lot. Jack feels like he's failing as a father because he never wanted his daughter to go through this. If you're religious, Jack would appreciate your prayers for his daughters. On another note, the other betrayed spouse and Jack are still in contact daily. They're getting along great, and things are becoming easier, but she has some bad news. It's not about her health or her child, thank goodness. Instead, Emily's ex has skipped town. Jack isn't shocked at all by this, considering the guy vanished right after getting bailed out for assaulting Emily. It turns out she was the last person,